Tonight, Canadian officials believe India's alleged conduct was directed from the top.
The breadcrumbs seem to all go back to the High Commission and the consulates.
From Ottawa to Delhi, we're on it. A story of crime and, so far, diplomatic punishment. Open demand for change. A longtime Liberal MP says the Prime Minister needs to go.
The message that I've been getting loud and clear is that it's time for him to go, and I agree.
Tracking down a 2020 election denier who targeted our team on January 6th.
Go, run!
Ahead of this election, Katie Nicholson gets a different greeting, but the same politics.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. The rift between Canada and India is only getting wider. India's fury is growing at Canada's allegations that its diplomats were involved in extortions, harassment, even murder. Canada is not backing down. In fact, sources say it is pointing to the top of the Indian government. Remember that the diplomatic repercussions have already started. India ordering 6 Canadian diplomats out by Saturday after Canada expelled 6 of India's, including the High Commissioner. And CBC News is learning tonight that may not be the end of it. We'll have more on the reaction from India in a moment, but first, Kate McKenna begins our coverage from Ottawa.
More shockwaves following stunning allegations from the RCMP.
It's concerning that a country would go to that length on foreign soil, orchestrating, as I said yesterday, harassment, intimidation, coercion, even homicides.
The RCMP says Indian diplomats gathered information on Sikh activists, then shared it with criminal gangs who targeted them for coercion, violence, even death. 6 Indian diplomats have been expelled from Canada.
Today I'm rising to inform the House of an extremely serious matter.
More than a year ago, Justin Trudeau warned authorities believed the Indian government was tied to the assassination of pro-Khalistan activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Feet from where he was killed, the group Sikhs for Justice called on Canada to go further.
Shut down Indian consulates in Toronto and Vancouver to decimate the Indian spy network.
Sources tell CBC News law enforcement believes there are ties between Nijjar's murder and 3 other homicides, including that of Winnipeg resident Sukhdev Singh Gill.
The mere thought of organized crime being orchestrated by a foreign government directed at Canadian citizens and residents is abhorrent.
Now CBC News is also learning that Canadian authorities believe Nijjar's killing was directed by top levels of the Indian government.
The breadcrumbs seem to all go back to the High Commission and the consulates.
India responded to the RCMP's accusations with a blanket denial and a refusal to cooperate.
This is serious.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh says Canada must keep demanding answers over alleged violence targeting Canadians,
including shooting at homes, shooting at Canadians' homes, killing Canadians, shooting at Canadian businesses, shooting at Canadian communities.
Sources close to the investigation told CBC News the 6 senior diplomats Ottawa ordered to leave the country may not be the last Indian officials to be expelled as the RCMP continues its investigation.
And so, Kate, the RCMP said that these expulsions were intended to break up the criminal network. What are you hearing about whether that move is likely to work?
Well, a support network for India's clandestine operations is still largely in place, but sources think it's likely that some members will now leave voluntarily rather than risk arrest. There are lots of people playing lots of different roles in India's operations, some by choice, some under pressure from Indian diplomats and their proxies.
All right, Kate McKenna in Ottawa tonight. Thanks, Kate. Now, in India, the RCMP's allegations have been met with anger from politicians and those in the media. CBC's South Asia correspondent Salima Shivji is following the story in Delhi.
The quiet after the storm outside Canada's High Commission in Delhi as some diplomats hurriedly prepare to leave the country. A far cry from Monday and the fury of India's denials over allegations their diplomats were targeting pro-Khalistani activists in Canada.
India has decided.
But on Indian television, anger dominates.
Justin Trudeau continue to level baseless allegations against India.
Blaring headlines attacking Justin Trudeau and applauding India.
The decisive action came after Canada escalated its fakery.
Canada's Justin Trudeau shamelessly lied about India, this anchor says, but India stayed strong. The headlines confirm the diplomatic schism is now even wider between the two countries, 1 year after the first allegations from Canada.
It's quite shocking.
The disintegration of ties a shock for this former top diplomat of India, and he believes it's pure politics.
Because right now, the vision seems to be clouded on the Canadian side because of their forthcoming elections there.
An echo of what Indian government officials have said repeatedly, that Trudeau has a political agenda. He's looking for votes in the Sikh diaspora, they say. For many here, Canada's Trudeau had no business attacking India with vague allegations.
And when he made this allegation, we asked him for proof. We asked him to give us evidence. And till date, the government of India says no evidence has been given by the Canadian side.
Good morning.
Only the RCMP says they did present the evidence in full this past weekend, and that India didn't want to hear it.
To engage in clandestine activities.
I don't think we've seen the end of it yet.
Two different narratives and an all-out diplomatic war that's hard to recover from, this longtime political journalist says.
These are two countries calling each other liars. They're calling each other untrustworthy. They're calling each other murderers. This is not diplomatic parlance.
As the diplomats forced to leave, say their goodbyes and pack their bags ahead of the Saturday deadline, they're still bracing for more reaction from a very angry Indian government. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Delhi.
Well, this country's prime minister deals with those external threats. Here at home, the pressure is building right inside his own political house.
The message that I've been getting loud and clear and more strongly as time goes by is that it's time for him to go, and I agree.
That is longtime Charlottetown Liberal MP Sean Casey saying openly something others have been discussing in back rooms, that Justin Trudeau should step aside. He made the comment in an exclusive interview with the host of CBC's Power and Politics. And here's David Cochrane to talk about it. So, David, you've reported how some 20 anonymous Liberal MPs have signed onto this pledge to call on Trudeau to resign. So how widespread do you think this sentiment really is?
Well, Sean Casey says it's more widespread than it seems. And I spoke to a lot of people for our reporting about these desires for leadership change. And Sean Casey, I got to tell you, he wasn't one of them. Casey says he didn't want to fuel things anonymously. He wanted to put his face and his name on it. And he told me he said these same things to the Prime Minister directly in a conversation in July. Casey isn't advocating for any particular replacement. He just wants a race, and he plans to run again no matter what happens. But Andrew, it's important to know Casey also isn't part of that organized effort to force this issue that we reported last week. But he says he's spoken to colleagues, other MPs who have told him that they've attended meetings with 20 Liberal MPs or more who are organizing, collecting signatures, and prepping letters. So you stack people like Sean Casey on top of that group, and it shows you the potential for a fairly large percentage of the backbench who want the Prime Minister to go and seem intent to force that issue.
And any reactions so far from the Prime Minister?
We reached out to the Prime Minister's office. They told us they wouldn't be commenting. So I spoke to some of the Liberals who are part of this effort to organize for change. They said they are continuing their work. To this point, Adrian, it's only plotting, it's only planning, it's only talking. But everyone you speak with on all sides of this, they believe this will come to a head next week when MPs are back in Ottawa, maybe as early as Monday, but certainly by Wednesday when the Liberal National Caucus will meet in person.
All right, David Cochrane in Ottawa. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
The U.S. Department of State is confirming the legitimacy of a leaked letter that was sent to Israel. It warns of a 30-day window to improve humanitarian conditions in Gaza or face potential restrictions on U.S. military aid.
We know that it's possible to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. We know it can be done. And so it is incumbent upon the government of Israel to surmount those challenges and get assistance in.
Among the Americans' demands, enabling the entrance of at least 350 trucks into Gaza each day, pauses in the fighting for humanitarian purposes, and ending unnecessary evacuation orders. At the same time, the Pentagon has confirmed components of a U.S. advanced anti-missile system have begun arriving in Israel and will be operational soon. Now, both the United States and Canada have designated pro-Palestinian group Samidoun a terrorist entity. This comes 1 week after protesters burned Canadian flags and chanted "Death to Canada" at a rally that was planned by Simu Liu in Vancouver. Now, Ottawa says the organization has ties to another terrorist entity, and the designation makes it a criminal offense to donate to or provide property to the group. Canada's rate of inflation is continuing its downward trend, potentially making the case for faster and larger interest rate cuts. So inflation fell to just 1.6% in September. That is down from 2% in August and well within the Bank of Canada's target of 1 to 3%. Peter Armstrong is here now to dig a little deeper into these numbers. What's driving this decline?
Look, gasoline prices did a lot of the heavy lifting here, but inflation, generally speaking, has been moving in the right direction for a while. The thing to remember, though, Adrian, is that even as it works its way to and now past the Bank of Canada's target, prices themselves are still up considerably, right? Since September, total inflation, September of 2021, total inflation's up 12.7%. Groceries are up more than 20%. Rents are up 21%. And even if the rate of inflation is falling, all that means is that prices are still rising, just at a slightly more manageable level.
Presumably, though, this means that the Bank of Canada has a little more, I guess, freedom to make some big moves.
Wiggle room for sure. And a lot of experts are saying that the reason rates are so high is because the bank was worried inflation might rear its ugly head again. That doesn't seem to be so much of a problem anymore. Maybe deflation, something to keep an eye on, but mostly the bank is worried about trying to get rates as quickly as it can back down to something approaching normal.
So does that mean this could happen as soon as when the bank meets next week?
Next week, a lot of experts now saying the Bank of Canada could cut by as much as 50 basis points, not just at that meeting, but potentially another 50 basis points when it meets again in December. That'd be a full percentage point of rate relief for people that have variable rate mortgages or looking to renew their mortgages at higher levels. That's a considerable amount of money in their pocket every month if they can get that rate relief.
All right, Peter Armstrong, thank you.
You bet.
An Air India flight was forced to make an emergency landing in Iqaluit today after receiving an online bomb threat. More than 200 passengers and crew traveling from New Delhi to Chicago had to disembark for rescreening. The airline says it's faced multiple threats in recent days, which have turned out to be hoaxes. Well, tonight, the Canadian government says it has approved a request for Canadian Forces resources to aid Iqaluit and help get passengers to Chicago. Well, there are new details tonight on the investigation into Kenneth Law, an Ontario man who is charged with 14 counts of first-degree murder and counseling or aiding suicide. Thomas Daigle now on how police say they tried to intervene and how a tip from the UK may have influenced the case.
When Peel Regional Police announced the arrest of Kenneth Law last year, they wouldn't say much about their sprawling investigation into a man suspected of sending suicide kits around the world.
Our investigators have done a lot of legwork, and we've used multiple avenues of investigation.
Now, CBC News has obtained a police affidavit. Though largely redacted, the document lays out previously undisclosed efforts, as investigators say they sought to intercept packages apparently shipped from this Toronto area post office.
The detail, how thorough they were, it shows that they've done a lot of work. It was very heavily sourced.
Police had obtained a shipping list linked to Law showing 1,209 packages sent to 41 countries, many believed to contain a chemical allegedly sold by Law and used by vulnerable people as poison to die.
We posed as a buyer of this poison, and he was surprisingly unguarded. He was quite open about what he was doing.
The timing suggests an email sent by this British journalist to police in Ontario injected urgency into the investigation. In their own files, Peel Police noted James Beale secretly recorded a phone call with Law.
What do you think the chances are that it will kill me?
I mean, there's a very, very high probability.
How many people have you sent it to in the UK?
It will be literally in the hundreds.
Police went on to charge the former hotel cook with both first-degree murder and abetting suicide in connection with 14 deaths across Ontario. Law denies wrongdoing. The affidavit we obtained suggests police carried out a search warrant here at the luxury hotel where Law had been working. His lawyer says Law will be pleading not guilty when his trial begins next year. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
A woman from the Ottawa area is the latest to come forward with allegations against a disgraced Toronto doctor. Suzanne Barrow says she was sexually assaulted at SickKids Hospital more than 40 years ago. And a warning, the story from the CBC's Faith Greco has some distressing details.
I really didn't understand what that meant.
It took Suzanne Barrow many years to write this letter to SickKids. It details what happened to her in the ER in the summer of 1980, when she fell ill from food poisoning. She was 12.
And told me to pull my shorts and underwear down. Then he inserted his fingers deep into my vagina.
She says the incident altered the trajectory of her life.
Anything that would kill that pain. So there was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and it started pretty early.
She says the hospital was responsive to her letter at first, providing money for counseling, but getting answers became increasingly difficult. That's until she hired a lawyer who found the physician's name in the records. Elazar Noriega worked as a pediatrician, both at SickKids and in his downtown Toronto office. Over his near 40-year career, Noriega was hauled 4 times before a disciplinary panel to face allegations of sexual abuse. Girls who were 17, 8, and 15. He pleaded no contest to the first case. A committee exonerated him in the second case, but found him guilty of sexual abuse in the third. At one point, Noriega was ordered to put up this sign in his office, warning visitors he's not allowed to see any female patients alone. An investigator found he had covered it up. In 2015, the tribunal revoked his medical license. Noriega has never been convicted of any crime. The now 80-year-old lives with his wife in this quiet neighborhood.
When people go to a hospital, they assume that the hospital is going to be taking care of them. And if something goes wrong, it's the hospital that has to deal with it. But that's not true when it comes to doctors.
I mean, there has to be a penalty. There has to be. If there's a penalty when you're 60, then there should be a penalty when you're 80.
Barrow is suing SickKids and Noriega for over $2 million. Both defendants declined to comment, but in court documents, they deny responsibility, pointing to the passage of time and a lack of evidence. Faith Greco, CBC News, Ottawa.
The influential Canadian journalist Robert Fulford has died.
The internet today is like, I often say, it's like a great, great library where all the librarians are drunk all the time.
Over a colorful 7-decade career in print and broadcast media, Fulford was a fixture in the changing Canadian conversation. For nearly 20 years, he served as editor of Saturday Night Magazine and authored more than a dozen books, sharing insights on culture, politics, and literature. Robert Fulford was 92. Now, just days ahead of BC's provincial election, the Conservative Party releases its costed platform.
Under a Conservative government, common sense change will be the approach that we take in British Columbia.
The promises and the reaction, next. Plus, controversy over cultural appropriation.
I am looking for anything that tells me where boba came from.
A brewing backlash for the Quebec makers of bubble tea. And later, the great runaway pumpkin.
That weird call at 7 o'clock in the morning that there's a pumpkin rolling down the road.
A police officer gets his gourd. We're back in 2 weeks. Well, advanced polling began in the swing state of Georgia today, and officials say a record number of early votes were cast, more than 250,000. Georgia is one of the battleground states in the race for the White House. Election night is just 3 weeks away. Well, when BC voters go to the polls on Saturday, they'll have had just 4 days to digest the Conservative platform. It was released today by the party's leader, John Rustad. Yvette Brand looks at what's in it and the reaction to it.
John Rustad plans to scrap the carbon tax, create a historic housing rebate, and balance the budget in 2 terms.
The sea of red ink that we have in this province and nothing to show for it. 7 years. Can anybody point to anything that is better in the province of British Columbia?
His party also plans to spend more than the NDP on healthcare and education. But he says it can't cost it out past a few years until it sees what's hidden in the NDP books.
They have been fiscally irresponsible, squandering our future, squandering our kids' future through these investments that they've made. Not the critical capital investments they made, but just the credit card spending that they're doing on their pet projects.
His party plans to erase a $9 billion deficit by rejuvenating the economy.
If we could get an extra 2% on our GDP, that would almost be enough just to take care of the deficit alone, which is why we're so focused on it.
But critics say the facts about housing starts and rents in BC aren't accurate.
And my concern is that when putting forward so many inaccuracies, I don't know how we can base good policy on those numbers.
Jones believes the bulk of a proposed conservative tax rebate would end up in the hands of people who already own expensive homes.
You know, one of the things that we're seeing from John Rustad is his commitment to the people who benefited from the old status quo.
The NDP have been reckless in terms of their spending and approaches. They've spent a lot on ideology.
The platform comes too late for many voters. A record number of them voted in advanced polls. But observers and pollsters say this is a tight race and it could go either way with 4 days to go. Yvette Brenn, CBC News, Vancouver.
Controversy is brewing over a Canadian actor's reaction to a new bubble tea being pitched on Dragon's Den.
I would be uplifting a business that is profiting off of something that feels so dear to my cultural heritage.
Navigating concerns over cultural appropriation in the kitchen. Plus, almost 4 years after our reporter was swarmed during the January 6th riots, a reunion of sorts.
Nobody should attack anyone for doing their job, for, speaking their mind, for reporting the news.
Katie Nicholson goes into the home of a woman who once told her to run. Rocked by decades of crises, Lebanon's latest conflict is exacerbating an already dire economic and political situation. But what is next?
We need a lot of time to rebuild Lebanon now.
Gauging the divided opinions on Lebanon's way forward. The National takes you deeper into the stories shaping our world. Next.
Both benches standing here, and they're going to have a moment. There's no left winger.
And that is a special moment in Columbus tonight. In honor of hockey star Johnny Gaudreau, the Blue Jackets left a spot open on the left wing for its former player and let 13 seconds tick off the clock in memory of the number 13 he wore. It's the first home game for the team since Gaudreau and his brother Matthew were killed by a suspected drunk driver while they were cycling this summer. It was the night before their sister's wedding. Well, there are questions tonight about just how far the recent Dragon's Den stir might reach after actor and investor Simu Liu's criticism went viral and the Quebec bubble tea company apologized. Anis Haydari breaks down the controversy and the online uproar.
A Canadian take on bubble tea is brewing controversy. Quebec-based Boba recently pitched itself on CBC's Dragon's Den.
That trendy sugary drink you are queued up for and you are never quite sure about its content.
Those days are over with boba.
Hang on. I'm quite sure about its content, but continue.
The entrepreneurs pitching their version as healthier and less ethnic, but actor and potential investor Simu Liu wasn't keen.
Why? There can be new takes on things.
Sure, but I'm looking
not everything has to be
these
traditional.
Two guys. No, but then there's also an issue of cultural appropriation. There's an issue of taking something that's very distinctly Asian in its identity and quote unquote making it better, which I have an issue with.
You are never quite sure about its content.
Now many are criticizing the company for selling a Taiwanese beverage.
This person from the business was like, oh, people are usually not sure about the content. Like, what is there not to be sure about?
Don't say that it's not an ethnic drink because it is and it always will be.
Major chains have offered similar products with less controversy. For example, Starbucks marketed Asian origins with its recent tea.
Are we honoring the place of where it comes from?
This food writer says framing bubble tea as unfamiliar is off base.
It's not new. And without dating myself necessarily, I remember there being so many bubble tea shops in Vancouver in the 90s.
The company didn't respond to CBC News inquiries, but on Instagram, it said it was sorry and will reevaluate branding, packages, and marketing strategies.
I think they're going to need to make some big changes to their brand and how they tell their brand story in order for that to happen. I don't think they can continue as is.
Maybe, but for a company already sold in big retailers like Costco and Sobeys, it may be hoping this controversy has already bubbled over. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Lebanon again in crisis, fractured by sectarianism and conflicts, past and present. It's at a crossroads, and its next steps could define its fate.
The state of Lebanon is almost eradicated and diminished.
But first, caught up in the chaos of the U.S. Capitol riot.
Go, run!
Swarmed and forced off air. Almost 4 years on, Katie Nicholson tracks down one of those protesters.
I'm so sorry. It was a day of heartbreak.
Apologetic, but unmoved about why she was there. Invited to her North Carolina home, Katie Nicholson sat down with Tracy Danka to see how she remembered the moment and where her support lies just weeks before November's election.
Tear it down!
We've seen people in combat gear heading in there.
I was there, January 6th, 2021, as a mob took over the Capitol. My crew and I were surrounded by Trump supporters. That lady in the white coat, her name is Tracy Danka. That day, she told us to run. Nearly 4 years later, she's invited me to her home. I tracked her down, through the internet to these Spanish moss-lined roads.
So I'm on my way to Calabash, North Carolina, where Danka lives. And the reason is I've really been curious about the people that surrounded us that day. Where are their heads at now, especially now, heading into this volatile election? Pull in here.
She was a lot more friendly than I expected.
It's a lot more chill than January 6th, isn't it? Yeah. How are you?
Tracy's political leanings obvious on her front lawn, but surprisingly, there's also a large Harris Walls banner.
Well, let me tell you, the only reason why there's a Harris is because I ordered that for my husband.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Tracy, who still believes the 2020 election results were rigged, is married to a Democrat who doesn't. More about that later.
They found ballots in, rural areas dumped.
4 years later, Tracy still clings to the baseless allegations of election fraud, even though Trump's own election officials said it was the most secure vote in American history.
Do you believe that from a Trump appointee?
No.
Okay.
So I don't believe. Our voices didn't matter. It didn't matter how we voted. I need to set up my meds for the week.
That lack of trust has been building for years. You might be surprised to learn that Tracy was raised by Democrats and once voted for Obama. Tracy has kidney disease and has to take a daily cocktail of medicine. It's made this MAGA diehard acknowledge the Democrats got it right sometimes.
If it wasn't for, Obamacare, we would have lost everything. And we would probably be right in some rat hole.
But like many Americans, after 8 years of Obama, she was looking for a change. And she saw it in Donald Trump.
I remember thinking, our country is a business. And we needed a businessman running our country rather than a politician.
Tracy describes herself as a Christian and a patriot. That includes helping others. Today, she's delivering home-cooked meals to seniors.
He sees my Trump. He sees my Trump.
It also means supporting Trump and his vision of how to make America great again.
I'm worried about war. I'm worried about us being involved in any wars. Where did we become the parents of the world?
Tracy moved to the Carolinas 20 years ago. This county is Trump territory. where the falsehoods around election fraud stubbornly persist.
Okay, Joe, I brought you seafood, pasta. Oh my goodness. And I brought you the cheese and spinach raviolis.
Vietnam vet Joe Naudis thinks Trump's win was stolen once and might be stolen again.
If this election goes bad on far left, there's going to be a civil war.
It's clear the grip Donald Trump has on many in this area. There's a large Trump store selling aisle after aisle of wares, claiming he won, even celebrating his felon status.
Oh, this one here.
Jack Brandmall and his wife are looking for hats. Here, the merch matches the rhetoric.
Look at all the illegals coming in here, taking over our white jobs, black jobs, Hispanic jobs.
This isn't fake news.
And then there's that Trump mantra, fake news, that made reporters like me a target. I decided to show Tracy the footage of that day. She got emotional.
Yeah, nobody should attack anyone for doing their job, for, speaking their mind, for reporting the news.
I mean, it was 4 years ago.
I'm so sorry.
No.
But no, I mean, it was a day. It was a day of heartbreak.
Yeah.
But while Tracy acknowledged her behavior was offside, she's unapologetic about her beliefs, which are shared by many others in this country. The fault lines of America's political divide run deep, and they also run right through Tracy's 26-year marriage to Ed, a lifelong Democrat. They can't agree on January 6th.
For me, it was a show of support, patriotism, love, and we were told, go and march in peace, and that's what it was.
That was an actual live broadcast, and I know what I saw. I saw people breaking into the Capitol building, attacking officers.
Which was 100% wrong.
There's no denying they see things differently, but they share the same fears about what could happen in November.
Are you worried about this country?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, of course we are.
As I said, whichever way it goes, there's going to be trouble either way. Whether he wins or loses, and it might be worse if he wins. That's the scary part.
After all, there's already been violence, 2 assassination attempts against Trump, the first in July.
There were chairs and people on top of people. And I'll tell you, when I hit the ground and I heard he's hit, my heart sunk.
Tracy Baker, a childhood friend of Tracy Danka, was there.
It was heart-wrenching. And so, when I saw him get back up, it's just unbelievable.
For many, that moment cemented Trump as the bulletproof candidate. The falsehoods around election fraud also set in stone.
Do you feel that this election will be secure?
No, I don't. I'm very fearful of what could happen, very fearful.
There is unease ahead of the election and the looming specter of another January 6th.
We pray that our friends that are visiting have safe travels back up north.
The violence of that day is what brought me here. And before I left, I had to ask Tracy, if Trump loses, would she go back to the Capitol?
Is that something you're going to do?
My husband will back me 110% in anything I do.
But not when there's danger out there, honey.
Yeah.
Because now you know it's there. You didn't know it before.
Yeah. I'm going to say no.
So, Katie, firstly, very glad you did this. Kind of tense watching it, but from the beginning, I mean, how on earth did you find Tracy?
I used open AI facial recognition software, essentially. It gives you a smattering of social media profiles and news pictures that could be the person. You have to do some work, but it eventually led me to her.
Oh, extraordinary. Very civil discourse you had. I would imagine some of it was hard, but ultimately, what was it like sitting down with her?
Tracy was surprisingly warm, given how we first encountered one another. She even offered me her guest room in her home, which we didn't accept, obviously. And I think it really speaks to how different it is when you encounter someone one-on-one versus in a crowd like that, and also just how dehumanizing sometimes these sharp political vitriolic moments can be.
Absolutely. Katie Nicholson, thank you. Lebanon, a country mired in conflict, struggles to define what its future could be. A search for a path forward when we come back. Shattered by decades of war, hope is fragile in Lebanon, and charting a way forward is delicate.
They don't see future. We were always looking that we're going to get past this and the country will be okay. Now people don't.
But others believe this moment could be a chance for meaningful change for the Lebanese people. Senior international correspondent Margaret Evans is in Lebanon, where views are divided on the country's future and how the latest conflict could shape it.
Where to find shelter when the notion of it seems to disappear behind you as you run. The home you were raised in. The trees that offered shade. Or a state you no longer believe is real.
We don't have a country. We are marginalized by the government. We are robbed of our rights.
We were so afraid.
We need a lot of time to rebuild Lebanon now.
Lebanon was already on shaky ground even before Hezbollah and Israel began exchanging fire in their latest conflict, some already calling it a failed state, rife with corruption, political paralysis, and a staggering economic collapse triggered in 2019. Many people left.
There was a significant drain of talent and skill.
Dr. Labib Abu Daher is a Canadian-Lebanese surgeon who runs a hospital in the city of Sidon, gateway to southern Lebanon and Hezbollah heartland beyond. The hospital is already receiving casualties from pounding airstrikes the Israeli military says are aimed at Hezbollah targets there. It's warned residents of more than 100 towns in the south to evacuate beyond the Awali River, which is north of Sidon.
How do we just drop everything, leave the patients in the hospital and go north? This is like crazy. It's really crazy.
He won't leave, but fears another generation of young Lebanese will, and for good.
They don't see future. We were always looking that we're going to get past this and the country will be okay. Now people don't. They don't think that the country will be okay eventually.
The sense of approaching chaos is fueled by fear that the country's shell of an interim government is not only powerless to stop it, but incapable of fixing Lebanon when the war is over, hobbled as it is by sectarian divisions. The country's complex power-sharing arrangements see the top three government positions divided between Maronite Christians and Sunni and Shia Muslims. Historian Makram Rabba believes the system has allowed Iran, through its proxy Hezbollah, to hijack Lebanon.
I believe that Hezbollah's real potent weapon was not only its weapons, but rather the fact that it was using the sectarian system. I'm someone who believes that we need to reassess this whole sectarian system, which allows for monsters such as Hezbollah or other factions to emerge.
Hezbollah has long been the strongest armed force in Lebanon, along with a powerful political and social movement. After the assassination of its leader, Hassan Nasrallah, and most of his top commanders, the militant Shia group has become a wild card. No one yet sure how much it might have been weakened. Ali Hamia, a Hezbollah-backed interim government minister, has mixed messages about the next best step for Lebanon in the face of Israel's attacks.
This is the Lebanese territory's land. It belongs to us. So we have to resist till the end. And at the same time, the Lebanese government is responsible to continue that discussion with the international community for a ceasefire.
But with what credibility and what influence, not just over Hezbollah, but its political masters in Iran?
The state of Lebanon is almost eradicated and diminished and destroyed. But we still have some representatives that can't talk instead of the state, if you want.
Alan Hakim represents one of Lebanon's Christian political parties, aligned with Israel in a previous incarnation during Lebanon's civil war. He clearly sees an opportunity for change in Lebanon's status quo.
We are not at war with Israel, and Israel is not at war with the Lebanese state. Israel is at war with Hezbollah.
Hezbollah began firing rockets at Israel last October, the day after Hamas militants staged their attack on Israel, sparking the war in Gaza. Lebanon's interim prime minister has suggested Hezbollah is ready to accept a ceasefire without linking it to the Gaza war, and that Lebanon is ready to implement a nearly 20-year-old UN resolution guaranteeing a weapons and fighter-free zone in the south. That would require a whole lot of help for the Lebanese armed forces, historically woefully under-equipped compared to Hezbollah.
Of course, the Lebanese army are not strong enough, but we know, and they know.
Andrea Tenenti speaks for the UN's interim force in Lebanon, charged with monitoring the demarcation line between the two countries.
The army, the Lebanese army, is a committed army. It's an army that still has the respect of the people of Lebanon. So we need to bring state authority to the south, not only of the army, but the full state authority to the south of Lebanon.
That, of course, would require a robust state, one able to earn back the trust of its people once the fog of war finally lifts.
Now, with diplomatic efforts so far stalled, today marked another deadly one in the conflict. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, over 2,000 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes. More than 1 million in Lebanon have been displaced. We have more coming up ahead. Our moment is next. Stay with us. Well, so close to Halloween, it was bound to happen. A giant inflatable pumpkin making a break for it, blocking traffic in Ohio, unnerving people enough that they called the cops. After arriving on scene, a bit of a battle between police and pumpkin. Luckily, no arrests had to be made. But tonight, the gigantic gourd makes our moment.
It was a rainy night and a rainy morning, a lot of wind, and we got a call that a pumpkin had rolled into the road from a residence and was blocking traffic. As the officer got out to try to assess the situation, another gust of wind came along and blew it right towards him. It's not like a balloon was hitting him. I mean, there's obviously some weight. As it rolled towards him and rolled over top of him and then rolled away, he had walked around the other side. He was perfectly fine, but it sure did look like that pumpkin ate him. The homeowner realized what was going on, and with the help of a couple other officers, they were able to get it pulled back into that yard. We like to say that there are no routine calls, there's no routine traffic stops. Every situation is a little bit different. Obviously, that's not something we've ever seen before. We were able to have a good laugh about it at the station. Honestly, the biggest thing is, it didn't cause a car crash. Nobody was injured. The pumpkin's okay. It's just a weird thing to have that weird call at 7 o'clock in the morning that there's a pumpkin rolling down the road.
I know the serious takeaway here is supposed to be, for goodness sake, leash your pumpkin. But I have a feeling that the bigger takeaway is a lot of people are now looking that up saying, where can I get one of those? From all of us at the National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to the National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.